She's lying in a narrow hospital bed, wrapped in sheets that feel colder than the room itself. The lights above her flicker. There's a chemical smell in the air. Electrodes cling to her skin. A tape recorder clicks in the corner. A doctor she barely recognizes murmurs instructions she won't remember. Not because she's tired, but because she's being erased. This is the Allen Memorial Institute in Montreal, and the woman in the bed is Linda McDonald, a patient placed into drug-induced sleep, blasted with extreme electroshock, and subjected to experiments designed to break her mind open and rebuild it. Most people believe this kind of program died in the 1970s, buried with the scandal of MK Ultra. But when you follow, you find something else. It never really stopped. In 2025, the same principles that destroyed Linda's memory show up in places that look nothing like this hospital room. They look more like the phone you're watching this from. Inside a small conference room of the CIA's Technical Services Division, 1951, the same year the CIA approved the first funding for what would become Project Bluebird and Project Artichoke, precursors to MK Ultra. Inside that room, analysts were reviewing foreign reports, Soviet hypnosis trials, claims of Chinese thought reform, British experiments in sensory isolation. A memo dated April 20th, 1950, declassified decades later, put it plainly. We are concerned with the problem of controlling an individual to the point where he will do our bidding against his will. CIA Artichoke memo. One officer leaned back in his chair and whispered to another, "You think they're bluffing? I think they're ahead of us." So the CIA built something unprecedented, a research program designed to explore every possible method of influencing a human being. And in 1953, CIA Director Allen Dulles signed the document that birthed it, MKULTRA. A young woman trying to navigate daily life in Montreal during the late 1950s and early 60s was Linda McDonald. Like many young mothers at the time, she struggled with periods of depression. Doctors called it exhaustion, just the type of thing psychiatric hospitals claimed to treat with new, modern methods. Her doctor recommended something that sounded reassuring. Just a short stay, he told her. A bit of rest, some observation. They'll help you get back on your feet. The Allen Memorial Institute carried prestige. Patients trusted it the way people today trust the best private clinics. So Linda packed a small bag, just a few clothes and a notebook, kissed her children goodbye, and walked through its glass doors expecting therapy. What she didn't know was that she was walking into the orbit of Dr. Ewan Cameron, a man who believed the human mind could be wiped clean like a tape recorder and rebuilt from scratch. When Linda walked through the doors of the Allen Memorial Institute, nothing looked unusual. A bright reception desk, clipboards, orderlies in pressed uniforms, quiet hallways softened by the sound of rolling carts and distant conversation. It felt like a hospital, structured, predictable, safe. A nurse noted her arrival time. Another wrote down her baseline responses to simple questions. A third measured how quickly she followed instructions. Her treatment plan changed almost immediately. She wasn't offered therapy sessions. She wasn't introduced to a psychiatrist for daily check-ins. Instead, orders appeared on her chart for sedatives, sleep protocols, and extended rest intervals. Language she didn't recognize, but didn't question. Her doctor, Ewan Cameron, was rarely present in these moments. His orders came through staff, written in short, clinical sentences. Increase sedation. Begin sleep period. Prepare patient for treatment. Within days, Linda was placed into chemically induced sleep. Nurses dimmed the lights, adjusted monitors, and inserted needles with practiced movements. Her mind began slipping into long, heavy periods of unconsciousness. When she woke, she didn't feel rested. She felt hollow, as if something inside her had shifted out of place. The staff reassured her. "You're responding well," they said. "This is part of your recovery." But her recovery wasn't the goal. She was being prepared. Every step, from the increasing doses to the extended sleep cycles, was part of a structured plan designed elsewhere, by people she would never meet, for a purpose she would never be told. Linda didn't realize it yet, but her autonomy was already gone. The program had taken over, and the boundaries between medicine and manipulation had quietly dissolved. Nurses noted her reactions mechanically, almost distantly, confusion after treatment, difficulty recalling previous day, speech fragmented. Every symptom they wrote down was exactly what the program wanted. Next came the recordings. At first, Linda heard them only briefly, short messages played through speakers beside her bed. But soon, the messages became constant. Loops of scripted phrases, repeated thousands of times, day and night, while she drifted in and out of chemically induced sleep. This technique had a name: psychic driving. It was the core of Cameron's method. Break the existing personality, then attempt to overwrite it. She stopped recalling her children's faces. She couldn't describe her own home. By the time the sessions ended, Linda wasn't a patient recovering. She was a woman stripped of her past, her skills, her memory, her name. The program had achieved what it set out to test. How far can a human mind be taken apart before the person inside disappears? Her past, the anchor of any human life, was dissolving. When Linda finally left the Allen Memorial Institute in the mid-1960s, she was not the same woman who walked in. Her memory was patchy, her speech slowed, her sense of identity so fractured that her sister later said, "It was like she came home without herself." Medical notes obtained decades later describe flattened affect, loss of autobiographical memory, and regressed functioning, all consistent with Cameron's high-intensity electroshock and drug-induced sleep protocols. She struggled for the rest of her life, moving between part-time care homes and living with relatives, never fully recovering the person she had been. By the early 1980s, her health deteriorated further. A 1984 coroner's report listed complications of chronic psychiatric trauma and cardiovascular failure as contributing factors. Her nephew remembered her final weeks. She didn't know what had been done to her. She only knew something had been taken. She died quietly, never knowing she had been part of a CIA sub-project. The outside world only began to understand what happened to patients like Linda because of an accident. In 1973, as the Watergate scandal escalated, CIA Director Richard Helms ordered the destruction of files relating to sensitive behavioral projects. Most MK Ultra documents were shredded, but several boxes survived because they were mislabeled in a budgeting office. Inside were financial ledgers, research contracts, and correspondence linking Allen Memorial experiments directly to MK Ultra Subproject 68. One clerk reportedly asked, "Do these go in the burn bag too?" And a supervisor replied, "They're just invoices. Leave them." Those forgotten boxes triggered the 1975 Church Committee investigation. For the first time, the public learned that American and Canadian civilians had been drugged, shocked, and psychologically broken without consent. The list of methods: electroshock overuse, LSD dosing, sensory isolation, prolonged sleep, matched Linda's treatment almost exactly. When the committee questioned CIA officials, a senator asked, "Was this program still active after 1963? The official answered carefully. The name ended in 1963. It sounded like closure, but the surviving documents showed MK Ultra wasn't one program. It was 149 sub-projects, spread across universities, hospitals, military labs, and private contractors. Ending the label did not end the science. Through the late 1960s and 1970s, the research moved into new departments: behavioral science, stress response studies, operational psychology. Techniques once classified were repackaged into neutral language: sensory modulation, cognitive restructuring, stress inoculation, human performance optimization. No electrodes, no sleep rooms. Yet the principles were identical. By the 1990s, as neuroscience exploded, funding shifted into public institutions: attention labs, behavioral prediction research, decision science institutes, all asking a modern version of the same question MK Ultra once hid behind classification stamps. How do you guide human behavior without force? Quietly, subtly, predictably. MK Ultra ended on paper. Its mindset didn't. It drifted from hospital wings to research labs, and eventually into the systems that shape the digital world. By the early 2000s, the tools of influence had changed. Governments no longer needed hospitals or secret programs to study human behavior. The internet was doing it for them. at a scale MK Ultra could never have imagined. Interrupt natural patterns, flood the senses, fast visuals plus audio spike dopamine cycles, repeat targeted messages, algorithm loops reinforce beliefs, create dependence, reward unpredictability. MK Ultra needed subjects. Modern platforms attract them, billions of them. A system once reliant on secrecy is now powered by participation, voluntary, enthusiastic, constant. The hospital room became optional. The environment of influence became the one everyone carries in their pocket. And by the 2010s, the scale of this shift was undeniable. Apps didn't just reflect behavior, they shaped it. Attention spans shortened, memory patterns changed, social beliefs reorganized along algorithmic lines. Entire political movements rose and collapsed through recommendation engines. MK Ultra attempted to rewire the mind through force. Modern systems do it through familiarity, reward, and repetition. The methods are cleaner, the reach is global, and the effects are measurable. By 2025, the influence is no longer limited to entertainment apps. It stretches into education, public opinion, consumer habits, emotions, identity, and elections. The tools changed, the principles didn't. Supermarkets slow their music, so shoppers move slower and buy more. Casinos remove clocks and windows to dissolve time, just as apps remove stopping cues with infinite scroll, while red notification badges trigger urgency. Algorithms push emotional escalation because anger and shock keep people watching, and platforms like TikTok profile users by what they hover over, not what they click. These same psychological levers are used by political campaigns and government agencies. Micro-targeted ads tailored to personality types, content suppression and amplification that shift public opinion, trending topic manipulation that decides what a nation talks about, and data-driven messaging that influences elections by showing each voter a customized emotional reality. Music, scent, color, time distortion, notifications, scroll design, emotional algorithms, profiling, targeted ads, and curated information, all serving one principle: shape the environment and you shape the mind.